Okay. Oi oi. So it's been like 2 weeks since I made my last video. I really have no excuse for you except I'm just a lazy bastard. So for today's video I thought I would tell you just a little story about something that happened to me in primary school, and I will just get into it. So I must have been in about year 4 or 5, which makes me somewhere 9 or 10. And there was a girl in my class who, for the purposes of this video, I shall call Katie Austin, because that is her real name. And she, I'm just gonna say it, not a very nice girl. Not a very nice girl. She, in year 1, when she first joined the school, we were lining up outside to leave, and I was behind her in the line, and she had these like boots with a heel about this big on them, like made of like hard plastic, and she kicked her leg back on purpose and kicked me in the leg and made me bleed. And then she also stole from me, and she also stole from Stacey. Don't mess with my Stacey. And then also she stabbed a boy in the eye with a pencil in year 2. She stabbed him in the eye with a pencil. Didn't get him in the eyeball though. She missed and got him like right in the corner, like right there. So he didn't go blind. Don't worry guys. But anyway, you get the picture. Not a nice girl. So in year 4 or 5, one of those, she came to me and one of my best friends at the time, Hannah, and she had a big scratch down her arm, and she was like, oh, my mum's boyfriend has been like beating me and blah 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 blah. And I immediately was like, yeah, of course he has. You're a fucking bullshitter. But I just went along with it. I was like, oh no, that's terrible. Oh dear, you should tell someone. And she's like, no, don't tell anyone. You can't tell anyone, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, okay, yep, I won't tell anyone. Okay. I knew she was lying because she's like a bloody compulsive liar and a terrible person. So I was more than 98% sure that this was a big lie and that she'd just like hurt herself somehow. But I was like, yep, okay. So that night, I went home, and my parents both used to work for the police, and I 98% sure she was lying. I was like, well, she's a bitch, so this should be funny. So I went to my dad and I was like, Dad, Katie came to me today and she showed me this big scratch on her arm, and she said that for the purpose of this video, we'll call her mum's boyfriend John. I don't want to ruin his reputation, so we'll just call him John. John has like been hurting her, and yeah, she has this big scratch on her arm. So I told my dad, and then I forgot about it, to be honest. So I go into school 2 days later, just standing in the playground with Hannah before the school started, and Katie comes up to us and is like, did one of you tell someone? And I'm like, no, I didn't tell anyone. I didn't tell anyone. And Hannah's truthfully like, no, I didn't tell anyone. No. And then Katie goes, because the police came to our house last night because they wanted to speak to John about scratch, and yeah, so they came to our house to speak to him. And I'm like, well, I don't tell the police. I'm certain that wasn't me at all. I didn't do that on purpose. No. Wasn't me. And then she goes on to say, my mum kicked John out. Did she? Did she kick John out, did she? I'm just gonna need a moment to compose myself and hold back the laughter. Now part of me was like, oh dear. And the other part was like, that's what you get for lying, bitch! Does this make me a terrible person? This is what I call revenge. And I'm sorry, John, it's not your fault, but your child needed to learn not to tell lies. I don't have any remorse for this whatsoever. And just to inform you, so you don't think I'm like terrible, they did find out that Katie was just a big bullshitter, and then like her mum like was fine with John because obviously he didn't do anything. He didn't actually beat her. Just to clarify, John did not beat Katie. Katie is just a lying piece of shit. Okay? So the moral of that story is,
don't lie to me.
Because I will destroy your family and get your stepfather taken away by the police. And as if that wasn't enough on my part, in year 5, for definite, Katie had this box of snails that she'd collected from God knows where. She had a box of snails, and one weekend she was like, Emily, can you look after the snails? Because I used to have giant African land snails as pets, like huge snails as pets. Yeah, but anyway, I like animals. And she was like, Emily, can you look after the snails? And I was like, yep, I'll look after them snails. Took the box home, set them all free. I'm a terrible person. And then when I went into school and was like, oh sorry Katie, snails, they escaped. So The teacher had the cheek to ask me to go and collect some more for her. I was like, no, I'm not collecting some more poor snails for her to bloody torture. No, I'm not going to subject those snails to that awful, awful life. I was a bitch. So I've just shown everyone how much of an awful person I am. I still think this is hilarious, so I don't give a shit. So that's my story. That's the Katie Austin saga completed there. And I will be telling you some more stories from my life in England because some pretty hilarious shit happened to me. I'm not gonna lie. Yes, I will see you in my next video. I hope you all had a lovely Easter or Passover if you're a Jew. Links to my Twitter, Tumblr and Instagram are all in the dick box. And I will see you next time. Okay, bye! If anything all this story proves is that I do hold a grudge. For a very long time.